Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Real Estate Walk and Talk. We're going to be learning about how to lead with compassion from someone who exemplified this maybe better than anyone else out there, especially in the college basketball ranks. We're talking about John Wooden and a great story about he learned how to lead with compassion. John Wooden, of course, is the Hall of Fame basketball coach, was the Hall of Fame basketball coach. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2010. But during his college coaching career, he won 10 NCAA championships in a 12-year span. But the winning was not what he is most known for. It's how he did it, how he cultivated his players. Welcome, everybody who's walking with me here. We're talking about learning how to lead with compassion from John Wooden. So I've been reading one of his books. It's called A Game Plan for Life. And there's a great story about leading with compassion that I wanted to share with you. So this book is all about learning from John's greatest mentors. And one of his greatest mentors was his college basketball coach at Purdue University. And his college basketball coach's name was Piggy Lambert. Piggy Lambert. So at Purdue, Wooden would become the first basketball player to be named an All-American 3 times. So it was incredibly accomplished. But times were tough for Wooden, and especially growing up in those days. And so he had to work. He had to work all throughout the school year. He worked bussing tables at a frat house and earned $50 a week. And he had to work over the summers as well. Welcome, everybody. We've got Catherine Tarracano watching. Malachi's watching. I appreciate you guys being here. We're talking about leading with compassion from John Wooden. So he would work all during the school year and all over the summers in order to be able to afford to go to school and to live. He did have an academic scholarship, but it didn't cover all the costs. And one thing he really wanted to do early on, his first major was actually civil engineering because he loved the idea of building bridges and that type of work. But he learned that he would have to go to a class over the summer, and he didn't have the ability to do that. He just simply couldn't afford it. So he had to switch his major. But one day, a booster came up to Coach Lambert and said that he wanted to sponsor John Wooden. So times were very different in those days than now. There were not rules against players receiving gifts or sponsorships, so it was completely legal. And so Coach Lambert sat down with John Wooden and said, here's what this sponsor would like to do for you. And Wooden asked Coach Lambert, if I accept, what do I have to do to pay him back? And Coach Lambert said nothing. He just likes you and he wants to help. So to Wooden, accepting this would have meant that he no longer had to work during the school year. He would no longer have had to work during the summers. He could have spent more time with his friends and his family. He could have returned to his first major, which was civil engineering. That's what he loved, but ultimately Wooden went back to Coach Lambert and politely declined and said, I guess I've gotten along all right this far. So I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to respectfully decline. And Coach Lambert said, I knew you would do that. So Coach Lambert had been paying attention to who John Wooden was. He knew his family. He knew how he made decisions. He knew what was important to him. And he knew Wooden had been raised on the principles that Wooden's father had laid out for him, and one of those was not to be beholden to anyone. But rather than influencing the decision for Wooden, he laid out the decision for Wooden, did not influence it, and allowed Wooden to make the decision. And this was a huge moment of growth and maturity for Wooden. He realized that he alone was able to make the decision, and it gave him the confidence to know that he made the right decision for himself. And as a 20-something, I think we can all remember 20-somethings, that was a big deal. It gave him a lot of confidence. It was a big deal in his development as a person. And here he is probably in his 90s, or at least in his 80s, writing this book and thinking about the most important times of his life as far as mentorship. And it still stuck with him. It was a huge deal for him. Now, Coach Lambert also had the compassion, did not allow Wooden to be too hard on himself. He said, you do need some clothes. He said, you almost froze at one of our basketball games last year and your shoes are no good. So go to the department store and get some new ones. He said, it's already been arranged for you. Go there. And of course, Wooden had a puzzled look on his face, but Coach Lambert said, this is not a gift. This is a trade. You have 2 tickets that you're entitled to every basketball game as a player. Those tickets are going to this sponsor. It's a trade. And he also let Wooden know that if his family wanted to come to the games, his family would be taken care of. So he took care of the physical needs that he had as well. So Coach Lambert could not have done this unless he knew his player, his background, what was important to him, and his overall readiness to make the decision at that time. But by letting it play out the way he did, it meant the world to Wooden. So the question is, how can we use a story like this to help us be better managers, better teachers, better coaches, better parents, better leaders, right? One of the things we do at JWB every week with our people that report to us is we have one-to-ones. And our one-to-ones are a special meeting that we have. And we talk about that teammate and how we can help them grow personally and professionally. Even if that means that we're talking about things that have nothing to do with JWB. And many times that's the case. And I'm convinced that our one-to-ones are one of the reasons that we win best places to work year after year. It's because of this time that we take to invest in our people. Because you have to know the people that you're leading on a personal level so that you can know that you are putting them in the right position at the right time so that you can build trust. And when you put them in the right position at the right time and you build trust, you help them grow by allowing them to make the best decisions. Not bringing your own influence into it, putting them in that position, and then they can make the best decision. And you know what? Sometimes it's not going to be the right one. Many times it will be. But you have to let them make their own decisions and lead. If you keep doing this, your people and your business will grow exponentially. So I welcome all of you here for the Walk and Talk. I can see you're here joining us here. We've got Malachi said, wow, man, I was touched by this story too. We got Lee Bishop said, hey, brother. Lee said, Greg, you guys at JWB are so forward thinking. It's inspiring. You know, I appreciate that. But, you know, I would recommend learning from those who have done it much better than us for many years. John Wooden is one of those. This book is incredible, A Game Plan for Life. And, you know, we just simply watch from people. We surround ourselves with people who have done it much better than us for a lot longer of a time period. And then we pick up golden nuggets like this. So I hope you guys will do the same. Malachi said John Wooden was very self-aware. It's incredible. One of the things I loved about, as I learned more and more about John Wooden, is how he coached. And specifically, he coached in a way where he was not running up and down the sidelines, yelling and screaming. He felt that was a sign of him not trusting his players enough. So he would sit down, watch the games, and would not yell and scream. And then, of course, in practices and on one-to-ones, he would be incredibly demanding. But it was it's a throwback. It's a different way. And it's the way that I prefer to lead as well. So appreciate all of you being here on the Walk and Talk. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Join me tomorrow on the show at 12:30, the Not Your Average Investor Show. You can register at jwbshow.com. And I will see you then. Thank you, everybody.